Well, I'm excited to be with Daniel McKee today as we're talking about this past weekend's message. Daniel, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here, Michael.
And if you don't know Daniel, Daniel's a great guy. You have done a number of things here at Silverdale over the years, from leading worship. That's your primary role here.
That's right.
But you've also filled in for me a few times whenever I have been away as the online host, which, man, I got to be careful. This guy might steal my job.
Yeah.
But then other hosting things, as we've had full church events where we've come together. For those of you that are fairly new, we have done in the past. What did we call that? My gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Where we brought everybody together.
One day.
One day was one of the events.
Very cool.
That was super cool. Go back and check out some video and pictures on that. But then also just some training things, and so super versatile, great as a
That's
leader.
kind.
Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, that's my intro, but you tell people a little bit about who you are and your family and all that.
Yeah, thank you. Like you said, my name is Daniel, and I've been at Silverdale for, 4.5 years almost now. It's been a great journey, a great ride. I have a wife. Her name is Abby, and she leads worship with me. I told him when I came, we come as a package deal because she's way better than I am. So, and that's true. And then I have 2 little girls. One will be 3 at the end of this month, and one will actually be 5 months tomorrow. So I'm just now sort of coming out of my zombie fog. You know?
Yes. I'm on the other end. As many of you know, I have one that's already in college. I talk about her a lot because she's gone.
Yeah.
Since I don't get to see you every day, Abby, hopefully you're watching this video at some point. I get to talk about you. But you're at this end and I'm at this end with the kid thing. And what a great ride.
It's a blessing. It is awesome. I often say when something goes awry, children are a blessing from the Lord.
Now, are you reminding yourself?
Yeah. When I'm cleaning up, whatever at 3 a.m.
Oh my gosh, this could be a complete episode on that, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yesterday we just started a brand new sermon series, which I love our pastor's take on the theme on that, the MixTape theme on that, which is super cool. Because it's just so fitting for the Psalms.
Absolutely.
As you think about how there's a Psalm for every season of life. Yeah. And many Psalms fit a variety of seasons. And I think this one that our pastors preached on yesterday really is one of those.
Right.
And so I think what's going to be unique about this conversation is Daniel leads worship right now in our Saturday service.
That's
He's doing a great job with that.
Thank you.
And I attended the Sunday morning service at 8:15.
Yeah.
That's where I was throughout. But then when I sat in, it was 8:15. So we heard different pastors.
That's right. Yeah.
We had different worship leaders, you being one.
Yeah.
Leading the people and me being led and all that. So, as a worship leader, as we're going through this, as we went through yesterday, of course, we're filming this on Monday and we'll show this on Tuesday, and who knows when you'll see it. But, as we went through the service, what were some of the takeaways that you maybe would hope that people would bring away from the service?
Yeah. I do think it's very fitting that it's called a mixtape. This series is called a mixtape because the Psalms do cover such a broad range of emotions. And I think it gives us permission as Christians to feel the full gamut of emotions. I think sometimes we feel like we have to have it all together. And if we're at church, then we need to put our smile on and we need to, say the 7 affirmations, and we need to make sure that people know that we believe that God is in control. And if there's one thing that the Psalms do, it gives us permission to feel and to feel deeply. And so when you talk about the 23rd Psalm, it is obviously a psalm of deep emotion. It's a psalm of reflection where David looks back on so many things that he's dealt with, and he's able to put that emotion along with some language that he's learned along the way. Specifically, the whole Psalm is a metaphor for God being our shepherd. And Pastor Travis touched on this, and then Tony, he touched on this as well. The reality that sheep are dumb.
Yeah, right.
And
that was actually helpful.
that we can trust God to guide us. And sometimes that phrase, just trust God, can be a little cliched, but I think in David's context, he was going back to those times when he really did have to trust the Lord.
Yeah.
And so that's throughout the Psalms, that becomes an echo or reverberation of his feeling. And so I think that if there's one thing that I hope people, took away from that is in every season of your life, in on the mountaintops and in the valleys, in the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah.
I was even reflecting on that and thinking like, all of life is the valley of the shadow of death, right? We're always living under the impending doom, so to speak, of death.
Yeah. And this is a psalm that's often used and thought about in terms of death, in terms of funerals.
Right.
And I think that's why, and Tony talked about that in his message, that the reason so many people are familiar with this is because we are under that shadow of death, or maybe somebody has just experienced a death of a loved one, and they'll go back to this psalm to try to find comfort through that season.
Right. And what David is saying too is, I think, I'm sure he's talking about near-death experiences, but also living under the shadow of, so many people live with the fear of death. And in all of that, in all of life, God is our shepherd and we can trust him. Like it's not just those crisis moments when we feel like we're having a near-death experience, but in every season when we're living under the shadow of impending death, because we will all one day die a mortal death. But we'll continue to live because we trust in God, because he has led us and guided us as our shepherd.
Yes. Recently I watched a video, and every time I think in these days, when I think about God as my shepherd, it was a funny video. You can go look it up on YouTube. I saw it first on Facebook of a boy. He's pulling this sheep out of this like crack in the ground. I mean, it's just this crevice. Have you seen this? And he's pulling and he's pulling and he's pulling, and he finally gets this thing out of this fissure in the ground.
Right.
And what does the sheep do? He runs to get away from the boy and jumps and goes right back into it.
Right. That's us, right?
That is so
that,
that
absolutely.
Is like me and my relationship with Jesus so often. And when I think about the Lord as my shepherd, he's the one who's forever pulling me out of the things I'm forever putting myself into.
Absolutely.
And so many times when we go through those valleys, they are self-created. Sometimes many times they're, things that are well out of our control. But he is our shepherd. He is the one who's providing that protection and leadership. And I love how our pastors really brought that out and reminded us of that. Tony said also that 86% of Americans are chronically stressed. Americans consume 28 tons of tranquilizers every day. And when I hear the statistics like that, I think, oh my goodness, wow, we are in a mess. But thankfully, and I think that's what our pastors wanted us to hear, is thankfully we have a God who says we don't have to be in want.
Right.
Now, to be careful, to be clear, that doesn't mean that we're going to have every want, those material wants and things just supplied for us. I mean, gosh, I think you were telling me that you were working on a project and had a little drywall dust on you a little bit ago, and I've been forever working on a deck project myself that I can't seem to get ahead of. We always have things going on, right?
Right.
Not that those kind of wants aren't going to be there, but he will provide what we need in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So helpful.
It is so helpful. Yeah, completely. We sang a song on Saturday night called Shall Not Want, and it's a reflection on the 23rd Psalm.
Yeah.
And it basically the chorus says several times, I shall not want, and then it interposes different reasons why we shall not want, and each one of them really ties back to the holiness of God. And I think that that's something that David was familiar with. He doesn't have to want. He can live outside of lack because he lives inside of the holiness of God. And I've always equated the holiness of God to the wholeness of God, to the fact that he is complete.
Yeah.
And in him we can be complete. And that's what David's understanding was. He lived inside of a culture that understood, that God is shalom, nothing missing, nothing broken, and everything that we need is found inside of him. And so, when he says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, he's going to guide me. And also inside of his holiness, inside of his wholeness, I have everything that I need.
Yeah. Yeah. Something Tony said along those lines. And I think that dovetails well into what you're saying, is that peace. You mentioned the word shalom, which we often you say is the word for peace. I think you did. Did you?
Yeah, I said shalom. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, wait a minute. Maybe you didn't say that. You didn't say that. But Tony said that peace is not the absence of problems.
Right.
Peace is in the presence of Jesus.
Right.
Or having the presence of Jesus.
Good.
And man, I found that helpful.
Yeah. So good. Also, when you're talking about stress, I don't know if you used this yesterday, this metaphor, but this is so helpful for me when I'm thinking about stress and worry. Tony often talks about the rocking chair. Like whenever you're worried or when you're stressed, we sit in the rocking chair and we feel like we're moving, but we're not actually going anywhere. Okay. And he said that before. I'm not sure if he said that yesterday.
Didn't say yesterday, or if he did, I apologize.
Yeah,
Tony, I was listening.
It's super helpful for me. When I think about worry and anxiety and stress, I literally pray. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to get in the rocking chair today.
Yeah, that's good, because it does. It feels like you're going somewhere, but you're not.
You're not moving. That's right.
That's right. Really getting anywhere.
Yeah,
not really getting anywhere. So helpful, so good. And so, as a husband, as a father, as a worship leader here in the church, what do you hope as we continue through this sermon series? What do you hope that we and your family and you, just what do you hope we're going to get out of this?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Very broad.
Pretty broad. No, that's cool. That's cool.
For that
that's
one,
okay.
He went deep on that.
So, there's a scripture in Psalm 119 that says, your statutes have become my songs in the house of my pilgrimage. And essentially what David is saying there is, everything that I know about you are the things that I sing about you to help me when I'm going through the things that I'm going through. And so as we move through this series, I hope that we all take these truths and internalize them, and that those are the things that we sing, so to speak. When I'm choosing music to sing on a Saturday or on another occasion, I always want to choose songs that are going to grow with us as we continue, not just something that's one off, but something that can live in our spirits and that reflects, the truth of who God is, that reflects his character and becomes something that we hold on to because they're his statutes when we're going through things. And so, the Psalms are songs, David and Moses and the sons of Jeduthun, all these people, they wrote way more Psalms than what are included. But these are the ones that were included in that psalmic canon because they were the things that pushed people forward in their walk, in their faith with God. And so these have stood the test of time, and they'll continue to stand the test of time, and they're there for a reason. And so, Pastor Tony, he's chosen these Psalms for a reason. And so I hope that we internalize them and that they become the language that we use as we move, through our lives. Because one cool thing about the Psalms is every time that we pray them or we read them, we are essentially singing a worship song that they've been singing for thousands of years.
Thousands and thousands
we are literally joining the cloud of witnesses. Wow. Sort of makes me excited.
Yeah, you and me both, man. You and me both.
So I think that's the biggest takeaway that we have through this entire series.
Man, I really appreciate you. I appreciate your heart and your leadership, and so grateful for your time today. Hey, listen, I want to tell you all of a couple of resources that as we're going through this series that I think can be helpful to you. One is this book. I've talked about this book before in another project, another podcast project that I'm also going to make you aware of if you're not in just a moment. But it's called 40 Days in the Psalms, and it goes through Psalm 50. So this is, I think, the first volume. But a great little resource. It's more than a devotional, but not quite as deep as a big commentary. So if you're looking for something to go through and help you in your preparation for worship this coming Sunday and the Sundays going forward, this is a great resource. The other resource I'd love to tell you about is the podcast that Kevin and I drop on Wednesdays, which this will go out Tuesday. That will come out Wednesday, which is called PreService, which is all about helping you get into the passage, understand some of the cultural background, some of the language, some of the nuances of characters and such within a passage, maybe taking some of the edge of it off before you come to worship. That's all about helping prepare you for that. So make sure you check out that podcast. And if you want to know more about this book, let me know and I can help hook you up with that. Daniel, dude, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.